Thank you so much for staying with us. You're on to This Morning on ITV. Now, here in Lagos, Nigeria, major attention this morning is on the entertainment industry as there seems to be an unending tussle between record labels and artists in Nigeria. And this actually is a complex issue that stems from various factors. Well, at the heart of the problem are unfair contracts that heavily favors record labels, now leaving artists with minimal rights and royalties. Many artists are unaware of their legal rights, copyright regulations, and collective management organization, making them vulnerable to exploitation. Well, to address these issues and more, I have Otris Wiliki. He is a Nigerian reggae musician who gained recognition upon the success of his 1989 record, Tribulation, produced in part by Lemmy Jackson. Well, the record was followed by Conqueror, released in 1990, and in 1991 he released a less successful LP, What This, What That. The album included a single, Heart of Stone, which included an Islamic chant, and addition by Wiliki, a Christian to promote religious tolerance. While the influence of religion was eminent in some of his songs, so also was the disenchantment with the Nigerian society. Now let's have a feel of him and come back to the studio.
You are the God who was, who is, and is to come. Jesus, Jesus. And in you I trust, my life is in your hands. Jesus, you are the miracle working God.
Right, thank you so much for staying with us. Now, that was Oris Wiliki. He's here in the studio this morning. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
How are you doing today?
Very well.
So let's quickly start. But before we even get into the meat of the conversation, really, how did you begin your music career?
Well, I'll tell you, I started out making others stars. I started like a native doctor, curing or healing other people. So there is hardly any musician of note released in the 80s to 90s that doesn't have a bit of me, either as working as a co-producer or working as a session musician or working as an arranger and so on and so forth. But before I proceed, I want to congratulate ITV for coming to Lagos. This is what you should have done 20 years ago.
So well, better late than never.
Yeah, this is very, remarkable. So I congratulate you. Thank you so much. So when we started out, we started making other people's stars. Like I said, the list may be endless. People like Ras Kimono, Majek Fashek, Mandatos, Alex O, Chris Mba, and so on and so forth. So they all have a bit of me as working with them behind the scene. But Oris Wiliki started releasing his stuff since 1989. And then the Wikipedia biography is not very, very correct, because one of the biggest hits I ever had was The Heart of Stone. It was the most that brought me out, based on that track, Heart of Stone, because it came out at a time where there was so much killing in religious strife in the north. And then I got inspired to write that song to say that if God, Jehovah, or Allah wanted soldiers to fight for him, we are too weak, because you have angels that would have done that. So why are we foolishly killing ourselves, nonsensically, in the name of Allah or God. So that's why I did that song. And so I had to bring in an afar to come and chant Allahu Akbar on the heart of stone. I brought a priest to shout Amen, so it blew me everywhere.
And it seems that your favorite of them all.
Yeah, it may not be my favorite. My favorite, spiritually speaking, will be Jah Works.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so at that point when you started, was there any tussle with the record label? Have you ever had any experience with a record label?
I have been very lucky in the beginning because I was not one of those that was carrying a demo cassette all over the place. That's what used to be the norm. You do your demo and you take it to record companies. They listen to it through the A&R department, and if they like it, they invite you, and then they sign you on. And that was a practice. But mine was like, okay, I had done my job, before I encountered Polygram Records, who was very much interested in marketing my work then. So I came on the platter of gold. And it was like something that was destined to happen because we were working on Alex O. And myself and Lemmy Jackson went to see Tom Cessna, who happened to be the MD at the time. And when I wanted to show him how far we had gone with the job, I played side B of the, which we didn't plan for. We played the cassette, which was side B, which had my own job. We said, no, please stop and turn there. And he said, no, leave it. Who's this? So I said, that's me. He said, he's very much interested in this. Play the next one. And so that's how I got signed, to distribute and market my works. So, but then the norms, for orders were, you have to be taken to a lot of record companies, who will shortlist you and then invite you to say, okay, they want to record you. But a lot of the contracts that were signed then, because the anxiety in the minds of the artists at the time was to blow. None of them was interested in whatever contract that you wanted to sign. Some didn't even read before they signed, which was dangerous. And as I say, if we knew what we knew now, you probably, the industry would have been better for it. And so you see a lot of contracts that were signed. I call it slave masters, servant relationship contracts. I happen to be one of them, but as God will have it, when I knew what I knew now, I had to fight back to retrieve my works. So I had to sue, my record company, and got judgment.
Right. But one would begin to wonder, is it a case of not having an idea or a case of intentionality when it comes to record label and the artist? Because just recently we saw Spyro out of the blues, because he barely talks or get engaged into social media shenanigans. He came out and he was talking about his experience with one of the record label owners and how he was grateful, but he felt he should have gotten more. There were some things he did not get that, that eventually he got to know about, and it just went yaddy, yaddy, yaddy. And also in the gospel scene as well, to the greatest surprise of a lot of persons, we saw Mercy Chinwo come out to also drag her former record label boss, and it keeps going on and on and on. And then there are some persons that would say this is not the first time it's happening, this might not be the last time. Why do we still have these occurrences reoccurring every single time?
I think it's on two parts. One is of ignorance on the part of the musicians or the artists, because you're supposed to know what you're agreeing on. You're not supposed to just sign your contract. You're supposed to take your contract to a lawyer, a proper lawyer, who will expatiate on all the clauses to say, this clause is not good. It's supposed to be negotiable. If you give me your contract, I'm going to take it home to my lawyer, and then we're going to study it and say clause 1, 4, 5, 6 should be expunged from the contract. Because you need me, you may not agree totally. So why don't we change the tone of the, okay, maybe you can rephrase it. So all these are supposed to happen before I put my voice on tape. But if I do not pass through that knowledge, and then you give me a contract which favored you in all ramification, then tomorrow I start crying. Then it was my fault, because I did not do what I was supposed to do. If there are things I am requesting for in a contract, it should be said before we sign it. And so everything endorsed, and everybody is happy, looking forward to a very successful execution of the contract. So we won't come halfway in the middle, Where most of the people were bamboozled were the ownership of the rights in the job. The record company will tell you they own the rights to the job in its entirety and perpetually for life, which is wrong. Copyright has a span, It is what you and I agreed on, that we will put on the contract. We can say, I want to sign a contract for 2 years with you, and the copyright in the works should be both shared between me and you at so and so sharing formula. So it will be stated all in the contract. But for a record company to come out and say they own the copyright in the entirety, when in the actual fact the artist actually recorded his job and brought to you a master tape, it's quite different from when a record company spend all their money to record you from day one, and so they might claim to have the copyright in that song because they sponsored the entire recording of that job. So your penny was not there. Right. So then that you can negotiate and say, you can't just take all of them. I agree you sponsored me, but I brought the raw materials, which is the music. You can argue and say, no, I don't agree that you take all the ownership of the copyright. We should jointly own it. So you can argue on all of this, when you have not, signed the contract. And so because they need you, they will allow you to have your way. Both parties will be happy.
Right. And another major issue that a lot of artists tend to talk about, and also it causes drama sometimes, is the issue of royalties.
Yeah.
How should it be, really? Because what happens when you sign me into your record label and then it's time for me to move out? What happens to the royalties? How does it work?
Okay, I have a label, for example. If I'm signing you on, you have a number of years to agree on. So most of the record companies are greedy. They want to sign for 15 years, 10 years. Who does that? You understand? And so if you are smart, you don't sign a long-term contract.
What's the minimum?
Minimum maybe 3 years.
3 years, okay.
3 years, 3 albums, or 3 singles, And so after 3 years, you are allowed to leave the label for another one, because you have fulfilled the exclusivity of that contract for that 3 years. But then the royalties that you're supposed to be getting, you are supposed to continue to enjoy your royalty. That you have left the label doesn't mean that your royalty stops there. No. As long as they continue to still market and sell those works, you're supposed to earn your royalty, for as long as ever.
Wow. Okay. So what happens when I leave when I'm not supposed to? Because over time we see that happen.
Yes. If you leave when you're not, then they have the right to sue you. They have the right to sue you because you are going against the agreement. If we say 3 years, 3 years is 3 years. There could be some bargain play where situation where because you are now big, some other record company will say, okay, how much do you need? We pay you off. They give you some watering, mouth watering amount of money, and so the record company can say, okay, you are free to go because they have been settled by the new company that wants to take you over. These are all negotiations.
Right. Anyway, if you're just joining us, you're on to This Morning on ITV right here in Lagos, Nigeria. Now, major attention really has been on the relationship, the tussle between record label and their artist. I still have my guest with me in the studio, but right now we'll take a short break. And when we return, we'll talk about how moving forward, this relationship can even be more beautiful for artists to no longer have any issues whatsoever. Just stay. Many thanks for staying with us. The unending tussle between record label owners and the artist. My guest, Oris Wiliki, Chairman Musical Copyright of Nigeria, President Kari Music Media International Recording Studios, still here with me this morning. So the other time I was asking, do we have a particular record label boss who hasn't had any issue whatsoever with an artist? Because me right now thinking in my head, the only name coming to my head is Don Jazzy. I don't know if he
Don
is
Jazzy
free.
also have had his own fair share of.
Oh, really?
Yes, the fact is that he knew how to manage the crisis, and coming from the background, the father is somebody who is a lover of the fight for copyright, and royalties, so he's well versed. In fact, the father and I had a lot of protests, to broadcast stations in Nigeria here way back many years ago. So it's coming from a father who probably, have tutored him, and because he too is somebody who has a large heart, and who is sincere in what he's doing. First, you have to be a friend. If your record company is not your friend, then you are bound to have problems. You understand? Because there are a lot of issues that needing go to for legal tussles because of the understanding and the friendship you enjoy. I've seen some record companies in this country who they took their artists like their own babies. They nurture them, and there's no crisis, so to speak, until when probably they decide not to work together again. They separate amicably without any tussles.
But most of the time, what we get is this crisis upon crisis
because
upon
of the
crisis.
contract they sign. Because of the contract they sign.
Now, what is the best way to help manage the crisis, just in case?
Okay, thank God for Nigeria of today. We're beginning to have little structures here and there.
Is it effective?
It's effective because
Really?
that's why you are talking about it.
Right.
Yeah, because the awareness is blooming, and so where you have a structure where everybody have his own department, you have the artist management, you have the entertainment lawyers. You understand, which is quite different from any other lawyers. You have bookers, you have agencies, you have record companies or label owners that their sole job is to pick up an artist. We were very lucky in our days, by the way. We're lucky because record companies discovered us, and everything went professionally in terms of publicity and the likes. And so you cannot say you are a star in the 80s, if you are known only in Lagos. No. As far as Medjugorje, I'm a star. Sokoto, I'm a star. Kano, Kaduna, Port Harcourt, you are a star. That is a star in the right definition way back.
Right.
But as time goes on, that was because the record company were able to push these artists, push the publicity nationwide. But now, thank God for social media, because if there was social media in our days, I should be living in an island. But you see, what we lost, we gain in terms of experience. So for you to be able to enjoy record company today or recording today, ensure you follow the due processes. You are a songwriter. You must be able to define yourself as a songwriter. If you are blessed with the voice to sing, then you are a songwriter singer. It's not all the time you have the two together.
No.
There are people who are blessed with the voice to sing other people's songs written by other people.
Okay, now you said something regarding social media. It makes me beg the question, do you really, as an artist, should an artist really be signed on their record label before having the fame? Can't you use online streaming platforms to just hit it and move on?
It works both ways. You could use that to establish yourself and get popular, which will prick the minds of the record company to say, this girl, look at, she's growing, 40, 50,000. Oh, 1 million followers. Let's approach her. I like her voice. We want to put your money, in recording her, because they need to see you at that level. But if you're not seen at that level, you may not be attractive to any record company. So it's good to make yourself popular on social media, before you get signed on. It adds values to your credit.
Right, and makes me remember a time ago, Don Jazzy was always saying you need to post online,
That's
you
right.
need to have your content online, because
That's very correct.
you never know who's watching.
Very
So let's
correct.
talk futuristic now.
Yeah.
How do you see the relationship between record label owners and artists in Nigeria moving forward?
It's going to be a slow development because the artists are getting wiser by the day. The record companies are left with the only option of ensuring they tighten, the loopholes in some of the contracts, and so when you tighten the loopholes in most of the contracts, and an artist who is smart has a good lawyer and they read through, they say, don't sign this contract, except we discuss clause this, clause that, clause that. So if you don't discuss those clauses, don't put your hand in the signing. So everybody is getting wiser in this time. So it's going to be a better relationship in the future, because I know before we sign, I must be happy. You must be happy. Looking forward to a very fruitful execution of the contract.
Beautiful. And as we tend to wind up the conversation this morning and just hang it on here a bit, what advice would you give to an upcoming artist in Nigeria who's trying to navigate his or her way in the music industry?
I would say you must dream very big if you have the calling. Don't dream small. Always dream very, very big. The reason is because the bigger your dream is, the likelihood that you may fall in the right direction. But if you don't have anything in your head and you start dreaming, then you may be fooling yourself. So ensure that you have the calling, and then you have the stuff, and then look for a where to develop those talents. Ensure that you develop the talents through social medias, and let people begin to know what stuff you're made of. That will be attractive to people who will be interested in it.
Absolutely. And finally, before I let you go, I said I was going to do this when you were coming. Can you give us a line or something? Your reggae vibe this morning?
Play me that music of Africa that never grew old. Tell me the history of Africa that's never been told. Africa nice, man is so nice. Africa sweet, man is so sweet.
Right.
Africa cool, man is so cool, like the sugar and spice.
Alrighty. Thank you.
Mumbala Mumbe. Yep.
Thank you so much. Now that's the amazing, legendary Oriswiliki, Chairman Musical Copyright of Nigeria, President Kari Music Media International Recording Studios. Thank you so much for coming today. Hopefully we have you another time.
Thank you, Anna. God bless you.
Bless you too. That's our bit this morning, right here in Lagos, Nigeria.